Good morning and Tashi Delek to all. Thank you so much for joining us for the Shangsheng Institute School of Tibetan Medicine, and happy Losar to all. Welcome to the first webinar of the Metal Ox Year in the Tibetan New Year. I will be your host today, or your moderator, I should say. My name is Menpa Matthew Schmuckler, and I'm filling in for Adam Okerblom, who is usually the host, who could not be here today. And as usual, we have our wonderful host, Menpa Phuntsog Wangmo, our resident professor of the International School of Tibetan Medicine and the international director. And we have a very wonderful guest today, Menpa Namgyal Qusar, here from Dharamsala, India, who I happen to know very well from some wonderful times in Spain together, which I will talk about more. So we're very happy to have you. This is our regular webinar series that's almost been going on for 1 year now on relevant modern health topics and the relationship to traditional Tibetan medicine. So we thank you so much for joining us today. And a couple notes before we get started. We should have enabled, thanks to Facebook allowing us to, a new feature which allows you to make donations directly to the webinar. We've been doing this webinar totally free, and we expect to continue doing that moving forward. But Facebook has a nice feature now in which you can add gold coins to your account, which is just add a little bit of money to your account, and you can donate by clicking the gold coin token at any point during the webinar. And I believe each coin is worth 1 cent, so you can click away. We don't have any expectation that you donate, but if you would like to support us, please do. Every little bit counts. We're a small nonprofit organization. If you want to find out more information about the Shangsheng Institute School of Tibetan Medicine, please visit our webpage at tibetanmediциneschool.org, where you can find information about our 4-year program and many of our small courses that we're in the process of planning just in these days. Thanks again for joining us. Today's topic is Tibetan Medicine Today, Traditional Tools for Modern Healthcare. And very specifically, we are going to be talking about dealing with anxiety and some of the other problems that we're facing during this difficult era that humanity is under with COVID-19 and the predicament it leaves our lives in. So we are going to focus in on that and also just talk about the general relevance of Tibetan medicine in today's society. And we have the perfect guest for that. I couldn't think of anybody better. Menpa Namgyal Qusar from Dharamsala Men-tsee-khang. He is an incredible Tibetan medicine practitioner. He runs the Qusar Healing Center in Dharamsala. And he is a very traditional Tibetan doctor. He prepares all of it. They go and collect all of the medicine. They prepare all the formulas traditionally, and they treat many, many patients there. He's very renowned worldwide as a speaker, has received many awards in the Tibetan medicine field, and he has also participated in groundbreaking research in traditional Tibetan medicine. And we're just so delighted to have him here. I happen to have the wonderful opportunity to spend some time helping to organize some conferences with him in both Tenerife and Barcelona. And I'm just so happy to be here today as my first time moderating this with, again, Namgyal Qusar La. So thank you so much, again, Qusar La, for joining us. We're just so happy to have you here. And of course, I'm so happy to be with my teacher, Menpa Phuntsog Wangmo La, our lovely host, and who will be enlightening us as well on this topic. So to get started, why don't we get right to some questions here? And I will turn it over to Namgyal Qusar La. Genla, so firstly, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to these days during this pandemic, what it's like, your clinic. Are you working with COVID patients? Are you seeing other types of problems come up as a result of the pandemic in your clinical practice? we'd love to hear about your experience throughout 2020 and today. And there's my cat saying hello behind me.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, I would like to thank Menpa Wangmo for giving me this opportunity to speak at this webinar. It is a great privilege, and I'm really happy as well to see Menpa Wangmo as well as Matthew yourself, and especially as a moderator today. And also would like to say Tashidele to all the participants as well as the viewers today of this webinar. Yeah, Matthew. Yeah, this COVID-19. In the beginning when we first uh, uh, came to know about this pandemic coming from Wuhan. You know, right from the beginning. Especially from January 15, I started to, so to say, bring awareness to our Tibetan community. I wrote a lot of my kind of, in my Facebook page, I wrote a lot of things to our Tibetan community in Tibetan language to be careful about this, COVID-19, which was not COVID-19 at that time in the beginning, to be aware about, to give education from the Tibetan medicine point of view of how this could be in the long run. So I was, preparing them to prevent, to help them prevent this kind of disease, as well as to take care of themselves while this was coming from China in the beginning. So from January onwards, several times I wrote on my Facebook, and many of my Tibetan friends and in our Tibetan community, they said it's really helpful for them to prepare, at least, to keep themselves be ready to face this kind of a situation. And in the beginning, we Tibetan doctors, since we don't know about this Wuhan kind of virus coming from China, we were just watching what's going to happen. We were discussing so many times, about what this could be, because in our Tibetan medicine, we speak about nyenne, which means it's kind of a malignant or vulnerable disease that could be very, very dangerous for everyone all over the world. But then in the end, it came, to know that it became so widespread all over different countries, and now it became a pandemic. So in that sense, in our Tibetan kind of a medicine point of view, pandemic means now nyene napo. That is really nyene napo is pandemic. That's what I thought is the relevant kind of a Tibetan term for pandemic. So when it finally came into India, because in India from March 19 in 2020, as well as especially the complete lockdown started from March 31st, 2020, then it created lots and lots of panic, because they locked down everywhere. The government of India locked down everything, the flights, the travel, as well as everything, whether it's the train, the buses, the taxis, all kinds of transportations was sort of really was a great halt. So nobody knows what's going to happen. But from our Tibetan medical point of view, as well as a Tibetan, when there was a kind of a complete lockdown, that means, from my perspective, I thought there was no local transmission, because since this came from outside sources, like especially from Wuhan, people were in a great panic. But from our side, we were. I was not afraid at all, because of course people are affected all over the world. But we in Dharamsala, in Himachal, in Himalaya, when there was lockdown, nobody was coming to us. When nobody was coming to us at that time, we were very safe. So I didn't stop my practice. I keep continuing my job as usual, and then trying to watch what's going to happen. And at the same time, we were trying to give kind of a lot of our own advice from Tibetan medicine perspective. For example, like wearing a mask is so important because we in Tibetan medicine believe that our nostril are the two main gateways for all the pathogens, external pathogens, to enter inside our body. That's what Tibetan medicine says in our medical classical text. So we have been advising our Tibetan community people to be watchful, because these are the two main points. Because the nostrils are the most widely open because we have the various orifices where it can the outside the external pathogens can attack our body. But then what? Because from nose we take quite strongly, inhale everything so strongly what is coming from outside. So therefore, as everybody was telling in the beginning, nobody don't know what's that. But we Tibetan doctors keep telling we have to really protect ourselves through our nose. So therefore, to stay away from the big gatherings, to be stay alone at your home and to stay inside. That was in the beginning, but then slowly it came quite common, wearing a mask and then keeping a social distance, which is really not a social distancing, but it's a physical distancing. As we all know that in Tibetan medicine, we say that physical distancing means for a doctor, for example, for a doctor or frontline workers, it's really important because physical distancing in the beginning means that while you are practicing with a patient, you have to keep physical distancing in the beginning. For example, in empty stomach, it's really important to keep a physical distance. If you are depressed, if you are tired, if you have fatigue, exhausted, burned out, and at the same time, if you were not eating anything and you in the breakfast, for example, if you have not eaten enough, that means it's important to avoid contact with outside people. So such things are so important in our Tibetan medicine explanations. So during the time of our COVID, from 2000, beginning from 2020 until now, I didn't took. Of course, I took it seriously, but I never stopped my work. We took safety measures quite in a very quite correctly as per the protocols. But luckily, or whatever, we did our ways to protect ourselves, like drinking Tibetan medicine decoctions and wearing this rimsung relpu, these protection amulets, as well as doing mantras and so on and so forth. Nothing happened to all of us and even to my staff. But as far as COVID-19 patients are concerned, of course, since Dharamsala, we were a little bit outside from the main big crowds. We do receive our patients from other places. We do receive phone calls from our clients who were clients of different conditions. But since they live in major high metropolitan cities, they always ask us to send some Tibetan herbal combinations to prevent as well as to help them heal their COVID-19 positive cases and so forth. So many of them are quite happy, but in the end, my healing practices went quite well during this very serious COVID-19 cases in our places as well. So that's what I want to say.
Thank you, Genla. So to follow up a little bit more on that, have you seen other types of patients other than COVID just start to come up more? For example, do you see people suffering from more anxiety or mental health problems, more mental emotional issues, and have you dealt with that much in your clinical practice?
Yes, not just the COVID, because there are a lot of comorbidities, right? From my opinion, this COVID-19 itself is comorbidity, whereas the other conditions like metabolic disorders like diabetes or hypertension or heart cases or any kind of autoimmune disorders, and especially the cancer cases, because as we all know, in our Tibetan perspective, cancer is a chronic inflammation. And often when people think of cancer, they have a big fear. And then at the same time, this pandemic created extra kind of a fear. So that is why, lots and lots of cancer patients, because in India, the cancer is very, very much a kind of a disease that is widespread. So many of our cancer patients have a lot of fear because being a cancer patient, and on top of that, since a lot of their loved ones, their friends, their colleagues, or the whole community, you know, have difficulties to get to their friends and families, and then to the cancer patients to get admitted to a hospital and to take the medical treatment or whatever, for example, a chemotherapy treatment or radiology or biopsy and so on and so forth. So there were a lot of difficulties to have access to those kinds of treatments. So these have added up to the anxiety of that COVID-19 cases. So therefore, I especially, were trying to help all my clients, especially cancer patients, to manage their emotion in a very positive way. Like giving counseling, sometimes even tell them to be positive, not to pray only for themselves. Because in India, it's quite a common practice to pray in the morning only for their only for the day-to-day business. I used to tell to my patients, don't pray only for yourself, pray for everyone. If you pray for everyone in the morning, you know then it's a prayer for you as well. If you only pray for yourself, that's not a big prayer, because your next neighbor, if he is having a good health, you will feel jealous of him. So try to keep more space right from the beginning. Pray for everyone. Be positive, be strong, keep more space to everyone, and this will help you, encourage you more, and will help you to reduce anxiety as well. So like these things, I think we did a good job, to give a, kind of a individual advice, so to say. Whenever we see patients, patients do come, they drop in, because in India it's not that kind of a thing that you need to take an appointment. They just come in front of our door, and we have to accept them and then help them. And some patients just take 5 minutes, some patients take half an hour, some patients they can take even 1 hour. So we cannot tell them it's finished. We just have to give them proper advice, and I think we did a good job in encouraging and to preparing everyone to face this pandemic in an individual basis as well. So since during this 2020 was one of the worst year for all of us in the world, in our part of the world, especially in my practice, we never stopped. Our staff came regularly. I never stopped my staff to come back, stay away from a job. They came every day, and we will always be careful, and then nothing happened. So after looking after my clients and also my staff, we were able to give them a moral kind of a immunity, because immune booster doesn't mean that you have to take something. Immune booster is something that we have to be strong ourselves, to be positive and keep space for everyone. So by that way, we really help them to reduce anxiety.
Wonderful. Well, I love the focus on positive thinking and prayer. It's really insightful for folks out there. I think, yeah, the first thing we think of when we're scared is to protect our own condition. So taking the focus off of ourselves must have a profound benefit for those people.
I have an instance here. A month back, I was invited to treat a lady who was on her bed. She was confined to her bed because of the knee pain and chronic knee pain. She was not able to walk even. So when I visited to that lady, she was on the bed, and then I saw a man that I know him from my childhood, so to say, about 30 years ago. Uh, this man was sort of he has a Down syndrome, and then I asked him why he's here. He said that he belongs to that family, and then they keep telling me, yeah, he has a Down syndrome, of course, but he really is a kidney failure patient. He has a liver cirrhosis. He has an ulcer, so they had to take him to a hospital for emergency care from several times. The doctors uh, think that he may die within a day or two. But this man of 55 years of age, a Down syndrome, it seems that he doesn't know what. It's obvious because he don't know what is kidney failure. He doesn't know what is liver cirrhosis and what is ulcer. He's just having symptoms, but nothing at all. So he has no fear at all. He doesn't know about these things, all these diseases, but he has a problem. Then they take them to hospital, and he comes back, and he looks like normal. So I keep, telling to my clients, this example to my clients, the cancer patients and all other clients, especially those COVID-19 patients, when they call me, I keep telling them, I just saw today or some weeks ago this kind of a patient who has no fear, who doesn't know what is kidney failure, but he survives, and the doctors are surprised that he's surviving like a really normal person. And he goes outside, you know, he really likes to eat egg. He eat 2 or 3 eggs every day, and he sometimes goes outside and eat his mutton curry and bread and stuff like that from the restaurant, and he's really happy. So that sort of thing. It's one example that when you have no anxiety and fear, and when you're a little bit ignorant as well, it's helpful because this man has no fear at all. So like these things, we have so much of instances in our life that can take kind of a, can use ourselves in this kind of practice.
Wow, I love that story. That is so great.
Yeah,
What
that's
a
what
good
I've seen.
example. Huh. So, if I'm not mistaken, you've also done a lot of your research was on heart disease, correct? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
yeah? So, on the topic of fear and anxiety, I know our viewers may or may not know the connection between the heart and lung and these types of symptoms. Do you want to take a moment to tell us a little bit about the connection between the heart and this and fear and anxiety symptoms and your experience with that?
Yeah, first of all, when we speak about heart in Tibetan medicine, it's not just the physical organ. Heart is more an organ than, and also at the same time, it is an energy center. And it is an energy center where all our mental energy as well as emotional energy resides and shows its kind of signs and symptoms. So heart is not just an organ; it is more a kind of a chakra center, or a where we say in Tibetan medicine that our human body is not just a physical body; it is a composition of the energy, the lung, the subtle energy, and then the mind. And the mind that functions through our consciousness has to take care, has to take the help of the heart. And in Tibetan medicine, we have a special chapter devoted to the heart, and that is particularly the organ heart. But when we go deeper from our Tibetan medicine perspective, then we have to think more heart as an energy center. So as an energy center, often whenever we get mental disorders or emotional disturbances, such as anxiety or fear or panic attack or depression, and during that situation, that goes and attacks our heart. There are two major possibilities of having a heart impairment in an emergency state or in the intensive state. Either uh, a lung as a cause, the aggravation of lung as a cause, or excessive blood flow at that very moment in the heart. So this can cause heart attack. So heart attack, we call in Tibetan medicine as an inyingser. It can be caused either by excessive mental stress and strain or due to excessive blood, such as excessive blood pressure or excessive kind of a plaque inside the bloodstream, or that affects the coronary arteries. So we did a research, as you said that we did a research in Germany a long time back, and then our paper was published regarding the coronary artery disease and the effect of Tibetan diet advice that we have you know modified for these heart cases. It was Tibetan approach was quite conclusive and very encouraging. So heart definitely is an important organ, but it's not just a muscle or pumping organ, but it's also an energy center where whenever we have emotional disorders, it really affects the heart.
Thank you.
Anything do you want to know?
Well, my next follow-up question would be, what can people do to protect that energy center if they're having a lot of fear and anxiety, and they feel, it's sort of centered in their chest or in their heart region, if they're feeling energetically off. I know there's just so much fear out there right now, around uncertainty about life, let alone getting this disease itself. So according to Tibetan medicine and perhaps some of your knowledge around protecting the heart, both the physical and energetic heart, what are some measures folks can take out there? For example, diet and behavior wise, diet and lifestyle, in addition to, thinking positive and praying for others. What would you like to share with our viewers today?
Yeah, during COVID-19, we heard that many people died from COVID-19 in the hospital. If you do systematic kind of a study, perhaps most of them might have died due to heart attack because of the fear of the consequences of COVID-19. So therefore, it is very important, first of all, to calm down those patients. Let them help in many different ways. In a case of emergency, like in COVID-19 cases, if there was a kind of a emergency case, let's say that really affects the lungs, then we really have to give a physical treatment rather than just calming them down. And then at the same time, to calm down them as much as possible. When they have physical discomfort, we have to give physical comfort. That's mandatory. You know, a person suffering from physical discomfort, it's not that easy to subside that physical discomfort just by giving a small simple counseling. We really have to monitor and then give physical advice and then intervention at that very moment. That's very necessary. But then on top of that, people having found out they're COVID positive but asymptomatic. So there are many types of people, because some people, as we know that in Tibetan medicine, people are of different category and different constitution and personalities. Generally, we categorize them into 7 types, but but when we look carefully, there are different kinds. Some people are lung type, but then they are also vacant type. It's really not that easy to categorize them subjectively, but we definitely know that every individual is different. So therefore, based on the individual constitution, we Tibetan doctors really give them a kind of individual kind of a recipe or diet or advice or any kind of a training that is required for them. But on top of that, what is important is diet, for example, is so important, and then the lifestyle modification. Diet, for example, it's very important for this kind of people having COVID-19, and then as well as to prevent kind of a problems that may come to their conditions of heart cases, especially those who are vulnerable to heart disease. It's really important to have them rest well and then give them a diet, not kind of a we have to advise them not to overeat. First of all, overeating is really a dangerous thing. And at the same time, it is important to give them warming food. If they eat more warm food and drink warm things, it's of course good for the heart, as well as it improves metabolism, improves digestive heat, and at the same time, it's really good to calm them down. Especially because COVID-19 case, when the weather is cold outside, it's foggy, it's snowy, it's minus 10 or 14, and things like that. Then it's really important to warm them up when they go outside. It's warming. So they have to drink warm, wear warm things, and eat all warming qualities. So therefore, they have to uh, eat light food, but at the same time, all warming qualities. That is really helpful. But on top of that, there are many measures. Like for example, like in our Dzogchen, in our Shangshung students, many of them are you know the Salung practitioners, Yantra Yoga practitioners. So if our Yantra Yoga practitioners can teach the clients how to practice, the simple exercises, so that it can help the lungs as well as the heart. It really can prevent COVID, kind of cases in a very perfect way, I think. So that these are the things, and then moreover, simple meditation like Shine meditation, it's really important to help them, advise them to live at present. Because if you worry about, because what happens is that people have worry about the job, people have worry about their family, they have a worry about their education, so many things. Nowadays, everybody has the same problem, about the future. What has happened was the past, but we must help them to live in the present, and then help them to do some meditation, Shinai meditation, for example, to watch the present situation, and especially to live with their breathing, and then help them bring exercises. So I I I always think that, oh, this time our Shangshung practitioners, Yandra Yoga practitioners, they can be of great help to our COVID-19 clients, so that they can teach people how to be strong and how to maintain physical health, and also do these very perfect exercises and maintain the balance of lung in the system.
Mhm. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Genla. Um, I'm going to ask uh, Gen Phuntsog some questions now to follow up with some of the things you've already brought up. Before I move on, I just want to welcome everybody who's joined since we started. Thank you so much for joining the Tibetan Medicine webinar. Please make sure to like and follow us so you can find out about our future webinars. And also, please share our webinar with your community so more people can find out about this and benefit from this knowledge. And we did implement the stars feature on today's webinar, where you can leave a donation in the comments, you'll see a little star, and you can leave a comment with a star donation if you've uploaded a little bit of funds to your account. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will now continue on. Genla, I'd love to ask you some follow-up questions about some of the wonderful points that Gen Namgyal has brought up. Firstly, since he just mentioned it, why don't we talk a little bit more about breathing and yantra yoga, and how to manage anxiety and lung in particular, and according to Tibetan medicine. I know that you use breathing methods in your practice often. I've been with you in the clinic before and heard you teach people how to do some breathing methods. So I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about with folks how they could even just bring some of that basic knowledge into their own daily life to benefit and to relax more from.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you again, Namgyala. Really, it's such a wonderful, in-depth, wonderful informations. I think many people needed this kind of information. And especially what the gala said is either you have some health problems or you don't have health problems. Be positive and especially if you have some health problems. Sometimes good to know everything in detail, but sometimes also better don't know all those kind of things. So then less worries. So this kind of also is very important. I see, some people sort of like have something, go to the Google, find a lot of informations, then makes completely worried. So yeah, it's a really thank you, Gala. And then yes, the yoga since last March, when they started this the pandemic hit more to the rest of the world. I mean, everywhere. Our yoga teachers doing a lot of yogas and then teaching yogas, and also we did several sort of like in our webinars yoga teachings. And in the meantime, this is also just one information I want to say. This March 19th, we will organize a um, talk for the children's sort of like a psychology for children's. And then also we have a wonderful guest, that the yoga teacher for children's yoga teacher. So this is moment I just mentioned that. So yes, yoga is very useful, not only in these cases, but also many other cases. But I think that the yoga has a lot of uh, qualities, benefits, but is what I see, at least what I use. I use yoga for many cases. I use yoga for the part of like painkiller way. I use yoga for help to sleep. I use yoga for sort of like to maintain the mental state. I use yoga for sort of like release the sadness or like a mental disturb, and also that the physical limbs problems, the stocking, like tense or those kind of. So comes to the to try to help to the mental sort of like to state to balance. I think the yoga is mainly works with the combining the physical movement and then the breathings, and then all like a mind is focused into this the breathing and then the movement. So this is a sort of like the when we talking like yoga could be physical yoga, mental yoga, energy yoga, could be there also many yogas. But this that the when we do the nine breathing, so this kind of yoga is like a body, mind, energy, all sort of like integrate, unite. So this kind of reason I feel really yoga is very useful. So I'm not a yoga teacher. Matthew, you are a yoga teacher. So also maybe you also can say something. But yeah, simple this learning nine breath. Nine breath is a very simple one, but is the most simple one is the most important, like a foundations. So if you really know how to do the nine breathing, it's what is the like the breathing, inhaling, like the rhythms of the inhaling, rhythms of the exhaling, holding, and then also based on the individual cases, as Gela mentioned it before, is sometimes we need to cleansing something. Sometimes we do not need cleansing anything, just to be calm. So based on the individual needed, we have also different way of the inhaling, also different way of the exhaling. And then simple this the nine breathing, we can do sort of like different breathing way, but just like basic one, like fundamental one, nine breathing inhaling, exhaling, holding, lifting the arms, putting the arms, body structures. Plus is like your mental sort of like the where should focus. So this really helps everything integrate. Once we everything integrated, automatically is calm down. So if you have just like a stress or something, just try to focus on your breath. You do a 3 deep breath, immediately calm down. So I tell my friends, or I call friends, patient or whatever, I tell them instead of taking a pills, first you try to deep breath. You see how that helps. If that not working, you need extra, then maybe you choose taking some herbs, either Tibetan herbs or Western herbs or Chinese herbs or whatever the herb it is. All the herb has their own benefit. But before you try to do a deep breath. So this is sort of like yeah, the just terms of the mental aspect, the yoga helps to sort of like integrate. Once they integrate, the body becomes sort of like relaxed, or the muscle is relaxed. That also help to relax all the systems, or the system relaxed, or the fluid, whatever the traveling into that tube system is sort of like a go normal way. Everything goes normal way, then also all the organ is relaxed. Everything relaxed, then of course also our mind is relaxed. Or if the breathing is sort of like relaxed, then the system relaxed, the muscle relaxed. So either outside to inside or inside to outside. So they help to relax. Everything relaxed, then as Giala mentioned before, our heart is like the center of the information is relaxed. Center of our information relaxed, then also there is a big chance not losing the immunity, or in the Tibetan medicine we call is the dang. So we have some dang in our body. Building up the dang, it is important. So due to that, we have some diet, some behave, so on and so forth. But important also not losing them. Try to maintain them. So to maintain them, it's important also you have the peace, calm. So this is, I think, is very important. Also, I think Western medicine also they said if you have a lot of stress and that can lose sort of like immune lose, then you will have the all kinds of the disease. Tibetan medicine also we say if you lose in dang, then you will get all types of the disease because the body lost like the protector systems.
Can you
So
explain for our viewers what dung is a little bit?
dung, dung, I think is not something easy to explain. I mean, one word, dung is a huge one, special, like that the dung is talking from the yoga teaching systems, also like the medical systems. So Dang is sort of like many things. So Dang we can explain more like a common way. We can explain the Dang is uncommon way, more related with the teaching. So Dang looks like there are also many different way of the explained. But it's simple that Dang is the most pure essence from our food. So after seventh day, that the today's your breakfast like Friday, next Friday, then they will make a like a golden drop of like one drop, and then that goes to the heart chakra, as Gyala said, is the center of the heart. So then stay there, and then that we call is the dandang. Dandang, the self, the words, like a terminology of dandang. Dang means is like a radiance, bright. So we can see, if we don't have a light in our body, our body is completely dark. If we're looking at a house, there's no light, then the house is dark. If the house is dark, can happen to many things. People who living inside the house may not happy. Also, there is more dangerous to robbers or someone enter to the house. Same like that way. If we don't have good, strong enough lung, our body is not functioning. We get more like fears, panic, stress, and then also our voice became weak, complexion became weak, sense organ is weak, and then connect to that since our whole body system is weak, easily to get all kinds of disease, included contagious disease like a pandemic or COVID-19, what we call, all those kind of disease is also easy to get.
Hmm.
In the Tibetan medicine, we say dang is similar dunge ki sete. So if you have Dandang, to losing dandang is not only if you don't eat or you don't eat like a good nutrition food, but if you have a lot of sadness, that also can lose dandang. Once dandang is lost, then how we know? Ngang ri nyam chu mega zindang yam. So then you will get a lot of panic, and also you losing sort of like a physical weight. Whole system became easy weak. So then you became like weak, all the complexions, your body like bright, light, radiance is loose. So that is sort of like explained. If that happened, now what do we need to do? Tsochi wama sheku temeyin. So you need to eat nutrition food, warm nutrition, and light, as Kiala mentioned before. So then this kind of like if you would be good like meat broth or boiled milk, but inside there you can put something sort of like spices like cardamom, nutmeg, cinnamon. So those kind of you put, make it a little warmer, lighter, also makes good flavor. So then this kind of thing they said is good to rebuild or strengthen the dandang. Did that make sense?
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I'm looking at you and seeing your radiance and glow right now, and I think you must have very strong dung, and that you must drink these potions.
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's very bright.
It
Always
is
really,
radiant.
yes.
Thank you.
Well, that's really practical advice for everybody. And Ge- Namjala, she just mentioned a few simple ways to restore the dung and to protect the lung and so forth. I'm wondering, since you're, in your practice, you do a lot of preparation of medicines, and do you ever give people like a simple thing they can do at home with, I know in India there's so many spices and wonderful herbs, and all of them are part of traditional Tibetan medicine, from what I've learned and seen. Do you ever give people simple home remedies that they can do themselves to restore their
Dung.
energy, their dung, their lung, and so forth? Anything that you can tell
Right.
people?
Yeah, that's true. Because whatever we ingest, especially in the form of food and drinks, we really have to ingest to preserve and maintain a good digestive heat. When we have a good digestive heat, it'll nourish us to an optimal dung energy. Uh, I can say that dung is also a kind of a optimal innate immunity as well as an acquired immunity. Because in our Tibetan medicine explanation we say that our human body is formed due to our mind, our karmic action, and our previous karmic actions, and then our afflictive emotions, and then the composition of all the five elements, as well as the healthy sperm and ovum. These are sort of innate immunity, inherent immunity that is called also part of dung,
Mhm.
produces dung. Whereas we get nurtured, we are groomed throughout our life from our birth time. Then we become old, then we get a lot of environmental influences. And during that time, we also have to have our own immunity to fight with the pathogens. So that kind of acquired immunity is also, kind of our dung. So therefore, dung is an optimal energy of our innate as well as an acquired immunity. It's a Tibetan explanation. That's what I think. So therefore, uh, the optimal happiness that we can show through our physical radiance is the dung, and we can generate mostly from our diet as well as from our emotion. Especially if you are free from fear, that means you are maintaining a proper dung and proper immunity. And whereas if you have a lot of fear and anxiety, that will help, that will facilitate to diminish the dung. So therefore, we in Tibetan medicine definitely take care of so many things, but there are a lot of Tibetan herbal combination, multi-compound herbal combination, especially these spices that, as you know, during COVID-19, there were too many cases of COVID-19, many, 100,000, more than 100,000 in India, but the death rate was so less. The percentage was so less. Perhaps maybe Indians were used to take a lot of different spices as their home remedies. That might have helped a lot. And in Tibetan medicine, we use many of those spices, and we use a very good recipe to improve our digestive heat, such as Sintu Thangne, Sintu Ngava, you see, and then Sintu Kunde and Sintu Nikil. So these are the common Tibetan recipe to protect our digestive heat. Especially these are good during the time when the weather outside as well inside is too cold. You can take those during winter times when the weather condition becomes minus, let's say even 10, 20. So especially those people who are Hecken type, phlegmatic type, such people need to take more of these Sindhu pomegranate combination pills. These are really wonderful to protect and as well as to improve our digestive heat. Once we always take care of our digestive heat, that means we are somehow taking care of ourselves to keep our dung in a proper way, because dung can go, can be affected by many different reasons. But other than keeping positive, we really have to take care of our food all the time, as well as the lifestyle.
Wonderful, yeah. So for the viewers out there, Sendru is pomegranate, and I'm wondering, since maybe many people don't know, I'm wondering, Genla, if if people do not have access to these formulas, if eating just pomegranate itself would also help with their metabolic heat in the winter, or if there's something they can do similarly at home.
Yeah, yeah, you also get a lot of spices all over the the grocery shops. So, such as you can use cardamom, you can use cinnamon, and you can also use saffron sometimes, and you can use ginger. These are some of important herbs that you can use daily in your cooking, as a recipe or as some kind of herbal combination to help improve your digestion. And on addition to that, one can use black pepper or ajwain, that is called Tagespremum amiprak. And then they can also use a little bit of a kind of a organic curcuma, haldi. And then moreover, they can use karavi seed or cumin seed and things like that. These are and also black pepper. Uh, yeah, stuff like these are warming spices, and they're normally considered to be quite good to preserve the digestive heat. So when the digestive heat is good, metabolic rate becomes better. When the metabolic rate is better, then we can really help to minimize the complications due to diabetes as well as due to any other kind of autoimmune disorders. So simple spices, warm spices, they are better for uh, treating. I think COVID-19, especially uh, to help or prevent comorbidities due to COVID-19. But in otherwise, when they have a lot of fever, extreme fever condition, then yeah, you must be careful not to use these warm spices. During feverish conditions, then they can use other spices like peppermint, tulsi, and all kinds of oregano and these kind of normal spices. The European spices, I can say, are better for treating when there's extreme fever. Whereas in our Tibetan approach, we use other herbs. These are not common kitchen herbs, so therefore these are not available in a common market.
Mhm.
So if one want to use those things, then they can better use European herbs,
Hmm.
these cooling herbs, those which has a lot of kind of a flavonoid properties to reduce complications due to inflammation.
Hmm. Nice, very nice advice. Okay. So stock up on your home herbs and spice away, especially in the winter, right?
Yeah, and winter those herbs which I mentioned, with the pomegranate as a main ingredient, and then other ingredients as additional ingredients, one can prepare depending on your own choice, and you can just test yourself how it suits you.
Hmm.
Then take it as a tea or as a powder or as a decoction, prepare in the best way you want.
Nice. So to kind of transition a little bit, I'd like to focus in on something you said, Genpun Sokla. You mentioned, and I feel like it relates to the general subject that we put out there for this talk, which was Tibetan medicine today, and in the context of modern healthcare and so forth. And you said that you tell your patients before taking pills to do breathing practices and try other things. And as a student of Tibetan medicine, of course, it always sticks with me that diet and lifestyle is our first lines of both prevention and treatment before moving on to medicine or external therapies, especially for more mild problems, which most Westerners kind of have, which are diet and lifestyle disease, really. And I know when I first came to Tibetan medicine, I always like thought of it as a mostly like herbal medicine, as formulas and pills that you would take, and that we would learn how to use those when we studied. And I think a lot of people still think that way. They want to go to a Tibetan doctor and they want to have their pulse checked and to be given some pills to take and just sort of more passively heal themselves. And just similar to how Western doctors more or less work. You go to the doctor if until you have a major problem. There's not much to say, and then once there's a big problem, here's your medicine, right? Here's your drugs. So not always, but a lot of the time. So my question is, I think that the world has kind of developed a lot recently in the health and wellness way, and people have become much more educated about diet and lifestyle as preventative and treatment um, methods. And so I'm wondering if you've experienced, it's a general topic I want to ask about, and I'm wondering if, Genla, you've experienced a change in people's capacity to really appreciate advice on diet and lifestyle and how they can heal themselves that way. If you feel that people are more inclined more and more to do that nowadays, if you're able to really use that more in your practice and focus more on those measures than, say, herbal medicine. I'm just curious to hear more about that from you, Genla.
Okay. Uh, yes. Yeah. I work this kind of using like a breathings and then different sort of like a natural substance to antidote, like to using like a compress. So this kind of I do that in the 80s or the 90s when I was in Tibet, where I worked first as a remote area. So at that time, I thought this is just I'm using here because where I live, where I work is a remote area. If someone need like a compress, I run to the river, bring some piece of stones and then heat up and then put somewhere. If someone need like fever, go to get some herbs and then to make a tea and they give somewhere. If someone pain, then help to breathing. So this kind of I do in Tibet. Then I came to like a like US or in the West country. I thought is maybe those doesn't work. Maybe need something new, but which I don't have, which I do not know how to do then. So I'm using that the same what I use in Tibet is working. So then, and I understood, of course, it works because it's same human, same condition, you know. So what I'm going to say, yes, the simple technique is the best sort of. Number one is very easy to access. Number two is quickly get like a result. Number three is hardly no side effect. Like breathing, for sure, there is no side effect if you don't hold too long, you know. So this kind of reason is it like the treatment is a very sort of like gentle. The Tibetan medicine, yeah, as you said, is many people think Tibetan medicine is just for herbs, just herbs, pills. But the Tibetan medicine is very holistic. So the everything sort of like if we say is like a man means is a benefit. So the Tibetan medicine is completely like holistic. So yeah, I explain to people, you know, how important the breathing things, how important diet, how important to behave, how important they just your beginning sort of like thinking or your thoughts, changing your like a mental attitude. An example like a menopause. Many women late middle or then they have sort of like emotionally problems. And the many women end up taking like antidepressant and the anxieties or those kind of like medicines. At that time, once they're going through the menopause, and then somehow their character is changed because the hormone is changing, like the body system is changing. At that time, important the woman knows is nothing to do with my mind. This is just like that the system body sort of like structure changing, like the transitions of the autumn to the winter, we have wind. Transitions of winter to the spring, yes, we have wind. Like these days we have a lot of wind. So once you know those kind of things, and then you just relax and then wait, and then just to prevent like temporarily not damaging, but don't need to worry so much. But the many times we did not know that. So then soon they change a little bit their characters, and then they think is I'm something wrong. And they also family also sometimes not highly understand and they're not highly supportive. And then this kind of women end up with taking like the antidepressant or something like strong medicines. So they go under certain label, you know, anti this, anti that. Once you get something like labeled on you, then you admit it. You think, okay, I'm taking these pills because I'm that one. So then that also makes as a whole your system weak because now I admitted I have something. So this kind of reason is I tell the people, you know, maybe before go to taking those kind of medicines, if they're not really serious, you try to do a little deep breathe try to do a little bit of like the meditations, and also change a little bit of diet, little bit of your behave, and then relax, keep body keep warm. So if you do that one, and then maybe in a year will recover. Body take a little time to justice and then recover. If you take the certain pills, then you will have another one problem. Sometimes when once we find some side effect, now I want to stop, then there's another reactions. So this kind of time is good to using like that the diet, behave, or change a little bit of lifestyles and special meditations and then breathing exercise is really very useful. Since we're doing this kind of like webinars, also many people send me say thank you. I'm following your webinars and then doing these kind of things really helped and then thank you. Also many other patients who comes to see me when I'm giving like a diet behave, they says thank you, really is very useful, helpful. So also I heard many people sort of like thank push it to the other Tibetan medicine doctors. So I think it's really the diet behave, changing lifestyle, breathing meditation is really useful. And then also if they need it, also you can take the medicines along with those kind of things.
Thank you, Genla. Wonderful. Yeah, yeah. I feel like in following the current trends in health, it seems to me that Tibetan medicine really has a place at the table in a lot of what's going on in terms of people's awareness around how their diet and lifestyle is really the main contributing factor in their disease, and in particular in chronic Western chronic disease. So I think it's a very pertinent topic, and that's why I asked. Gen Namgyal, I'm curious, and on the same topic, in India, Tibetan medicine is quite developed, and there's a lot of herbal medicine available, different than here in America. And I'm wondering if people have the same mentality that I mentioned before, that they expect to simply get herbs from the Tibetan doctor, or if maybe if you do also move towards diet and lifestyle intervention, if people are open to that, if people actually follow up with that where you live. Is that just
Yeah, 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 Matthew. Yeah, in India, Tibetan medicine is very popular, not only among Tibetan community, but also among Indian communities. Nowadays, people are coming after Tibetan doctors, searching for good Tibetan doctors all over India. Besides, expect with high expectation on Tibetan medicine products, Indian people are really good in following diet advice as well as lifestyle advice, especially in diet advice, because they are very good in selecting particular kind of herbs, and then the Indian women are really good in cooking the best food for their patient or for their family members who's having a different kind of illnesses. So yeah, the individual diet advice, as well as what I think very important, especially now during this time of COVID condition, the pandemic condition. Uh, Not just individual diet and lifestyle advice. I think the collective diet and lifestyle modification is important. Collective diet and lifestyle modification means with more responsibilities. You know, from head to toe, from top to bottom, from east to west, from south to north, globally, we are all same because we are all breathing the same thing. We are breathing oxygen. We Tibetan refugee breathes oxygen. You Americans also breathe oxygen. You cannot breathe better oxygen than us. And the Chinese cannot breathe better oxygen than us. So we all breathing the same thing, and we are exhaling carbon dioxide. So that means we are collectively the same person. We are not different. So therefore, everyone head to toe, top to bottom, rich or poor, must take collective responsibility to change to a wholesome lifestyle and wholesome diet habits. I think that is we must take individually as well as collectively. I think that's so important. That's what I want to say. And
Right.
my my battery is running down, so that's what I want to say in that. Thank you.
Okay, you're running out of batteries.
Yeah, soon. Yeah, we are. Do we
Okay.
have time?
We well then we can sort of I think we covered most of our topics,
Yeah.
so we can start
I
to
have only 6% now left.
what's that?
Only 6% of battery left.
Okay. We'll give 6% left of time. We want you as long as possible. No. Okay,
Okay.
well in that case then, since we're gonna transition out, Gen Namjala, do you have any last words you'd like to share? I know you just shared a few things. Would you like to tell folks maybe about your clinic, any opportunities they have? I was looking at your webpage and I saw that you are doing online appointments. Is that available worldwide?
Yeah, we one of my clients he helped me to make this for me. So I'm not into it. You know, I was busy with my clients. I mean, normal work. Yeah, my one of my client he's on his work helping me. So yeah, I have to ask him, and yes, we started that as well.
So people can schedule.
Yeah,
With
yeah, yeah.
you. Okay, well, I'm gonna post that to our to the Facebook page here, so that people can find out how to make an appointment with you. And I'm wondering, since we're talking about herbs, if somebody's international, are you able to to also help them with herbs if they see you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we can help them with individual patients, yes, but not in bulk, but to individual patients, yes. Why not?
Wonderful. Okay. Well, that's so great to know. I know people are always looking for a good Tibetan medicine practitioner, and they're few and
Thank
far.
you.
There's not a lot of us here in the States, and so it's good they know that you're also a resource. Um, so I will post that to the chat here so that people can find out more about your work. Do you want to tell them anything else about that, or anything else that you have before we close?
Yeah, that much today, and I'm looking forward to involve more with the Shangshung classes if possible. As I just discussed with Gepin Zongmola, yeah, I'm happy to contribute if possible, and if uh, there's a time, why not? I do my best. That's what I want to say. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, Gyala.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
Genla.
much.
Gen Phuntsog, do you have any closing remarks for us today?
Not so much. Really wonderful. Gyala covered most things. I just want to say thank you, Gyala. We are Gyala's collaborating with us, and then also Rinpoche talk a lot of good things about Gyala. So I'm really looking forward to continue collaborate with Gyala. I want to say, Gyala, thank you. And then for the listeners also, is really thank you, you're listening. Please share our things to people. Looks like people really get benefit. And then special Gyala's talk will be very useful. Uh, um, then the last one, Gyala mentioned a lot of spices. Maybe some of those spices you are not familiar. Maybe you have allergies. Maybe you have something, who knows. So try to boil the water and they try to drink more boiled water. When we're talking like warm water, warm drink, it's not like the water from the tap. What are we talking? We're talking boiled and then drink. Of course, you do not need to drink hot, burn your mouth, no. But the temperature, whatever that works for you, but important to drink more hot water. If you drink more hot water, your digestive system do better job. So if your digestive systems do better job, more clean, then whole your body will do better. At that time, whatever we're looking, pursuing future, we have more chance, more options, more possibility. That's I want to say. And thank you all the listeners. Thank you, Matthew. And then special thank you, Kiala.
Oh, Thank you so much, Professor Amala, for giving me this opportunity once again. I would like to thank you. And thank you, Matthew, for moderating this webinar. And thank you, everyone, for listening patiently to our webinar.
Thank you.
It's been truly a pleasure, Genla.
Okay, yeah.
Thank
So
you
I'm
so
only
much. I hold dearly the memories of dancing for in Tenerife in the
yeah.
little apartment.
I saw this again in the
Yeah.
uh, Facebook and I shared it, this memory. Wonderful, yeah.
Someday,
We
hopefully,
look
we all get together and dance
Yeah.
again. And thank you all, listeners, for coming today. This is the Shangsheng Institute School of Tibetan Medicine webinar. We hold them regularly. We're almost 1 year excuse me, 1 year anniversary coming in April. Please follow us on Facebook by clicking the little bell symbol. And you can also find us on YouTube, where we post these videos for later viewing. They're also available on our Facebook page ongoing. And you can also join our email list in the description of this event, so that you can find out about our courses and other workshops that we'll be holding throughout the year. Thank you so much. Feel free to leave a donation if you feel inclined to, with the stars feature in the comments that we recently enabled. And please join us for our next webinar. Thank you so much. And Genla, both Genlas, Gen Phuntsog, Gen Namgyal, thank you so much for allowing me to moderate. I got so much and I learned so much today, and I'm sure everybody else did.
Thank you.
Shana, thank you.